Here we go. Wednesday night, late night pod. Sorn Petro, the enemy, you MFers in Kansas City. And our victory lap. We'll get into that tonight. Tonight's kind of a strange one because I love the NBA draft, but it's in the middle of the football season. So, yeah, this is a tough one. It's a tough one. Trying to pay attention to it, but a lot going on. But I got a bunch of takes on the NBA draft. I'm sure. Surrender. I know you had some comments about Azubuike earlier. But before we do that, and also,
hey, by the way, locally he's known as Doke.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's Doke.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Will he be Doke wherever he just went? I always worry about when I watch the draft. I'm like, I assume this guy's been traded 7 times already, and he's not going to this team, and ESPN won't fucking tell us.
Right.
I mean, like I was watching tonight or paying attention. I'm like, okay, Lakers take Jaden McDaniels. He's now been traded 17 places. I think he's a T-Wolf or Wolf or Wolf. I think. I don't know.
I like the NBA draft because I like the NFL draft, right? But I like the NBA draft because you largely know it's less and less, right, with the international players. But with online and with video and everything, you even kind of know, like, we had a pretty good idea of what Luka Doncic was. If you're a fantasy basketball player and you're a nerd and you do the dynasty type leagues and everything, we've been on Luka Doncic for a couple of years in our league. We're on the high school kids, grabbing them for our minor leagues. And so even when they get to college, they're kind of known commodities and that kind of thing. So, but I do like that people. But the one thing that is frustrating is, like, just allow the trades. Like,
right. It's so dumb. We got to wait.
You said it today. You said you followed it basically on social media, right?
Yeah.
And I put it on the TV, but also was trying to follow social media and do like 9 other things. And I would be glued to it if I knew this is where the guy was going. Like, Azubuike goes to the Jazz, right? That's something we talked about today on our show. And I said, I think the guy's got a decent shot to creep into the bottom of the first round because I think he does more than people realize. And for a good team, you're looking for relevant pieces, not necessarily just upside stardom, right? And so is there upside stardom in Azubuike's game? No, there's not. But if you're a team that's close, go get him. But, like, am I looking at him and going, okay, they just want him to back up Rudy Gobert? Or is he moving on someplace else because they're grabbing him, I can at least be like, okay, well, maybe they're going to stash him in Europe for a couple of years and develop him. He's only 20 years old, even though he's there in Lawrence for 4 years. But yeah, it takes away a lot of it. There are a lot, like, so many things that I think would add to the fans' enjoyment and generate revenue, but they make so much money already, they don't even care if they're leaving like 40% of the revenue on the board.
So I think one of the good themes in this draft, and Azubuike actually falls into it, is today was another good example of the death of the interest in, like, the big 260-pound center. And I agree with it. Like, in a mix, like, if he lands with the Jazz, like, having a backup for Gobert, having 2 true bigs, if that's a style they want to play, that's fine. There's still teams doing that. But it's interesting. Think about this. Vernon Carey is 6'10", 270 pounds. He went into the ACC. Guy averaged what, like 18 and 9. If that's 10 years ago, he's a top 10 pick.
Precious Achiuwa went 20, and as a freshman won the league deal and was 16 and 11.
But here's the thing. I think in the case of Precious, because he went to Miami, right? Which already landed. Here we go. We're gonna have all this confusion.
Well, that's where he was drafted at 20.
Yeah. So in his case, like, that sort of guy looks to me to be, the 5 now of the NBA, because he's not 6'11" and 280 pounds. The reason I bring up Carey is that he's like that traditional gigantic power big man, and the NBA sent the message. Like, the kid can't do anything about it. He's not going to get down to freaking 210 pounds. The NBA sent the message. Yeah, you're going at the end of the first round.
He actually went the first or second pick of the second round.
He was. You're right. He didn't even get a guaranteed contract. He went out of the first round. Duke, the ACC. Yeah, and he didn't get a first round pick.
I think, but don't you think? Like, I was sitting there wondering tonight. Like, he went 32, and Azubuike crept in at wherever he did 27. I want to say. Don't you think that there's a little bit of they're going, have we, like I always talk about the pendulum is constantly swinging in sports. And people are all fired up screaming out here at 3, but you always want to be at 6, right? You don't want to be too far either way. And I get it. Shoot, and we're clear out here. But where we need to be is down here, right? And so I'm wondering, like people act like this is the first time anybody has played basketball this way. And it is the first time, or the evolution of the game, to where it's so 3 specific. But, the Nuggets played all offensive basketball, right? Back in the day when Dan Issel was their 5 and Alex English was their 4. And, they flooded the court with scores. The ABA flooded the court with scores. We've seen this. We've seen an offensive brand. I don't want to say we've seen the kind of perimeter shooting that we see right now, the quantity of perimeter shooting and the efficiency of perimeter shooting. But don't you think at some point it's gone too far and there is a spot like, okay, they're going to spread. Like if the Miami Heat come at you or the Warriors and Draymond Green's going to play the 5 and you can move the basketball on the perimeter. I know Draymond wins Defensive Player of the Year awards, but he's largely guarding guys like him, right? And so you're telling me Azubuike can't seal, catch a lob, and turn and get a point-blank shot? Vernon Carey can't do that? I think I get it. 5-out basketball, I understand it. But I also think 4 out with one guy who is a beast on the block could be super effective as well, because nobody's going to be inside to double if you've got a guy inside. So if you can get a guy who scores 60% inside,
right,
that's a 40% three-point shooter.
Right. So, but if that person's got to guard consistently on the perimeter against 40% three-point shooters, in more cases than not, you lose the battle.
And who are the 5s that are unguardable outside?
Oh, unguardable? I don't think it's about shooting. Part of it's shooting. I think it's more about defending the space. And the fact that when the big on the other side gets out there and all of a sudden you got to switch off to a small, you may have to defend a pick and pop.
Agreed.
More of a, maybe not shooting from 24 feet, but from 18. That's the problem. And that's why, like, maybe Vernon Carey at 270 pounds or Doak at, 260, whatever he is, maybe they're good for 18, 20 minutes a night. But, I mean, literally on offense, they've got to friggin' go like 35 and 18
Agreed.
To keep him out there for more than 18 minutes.
Agreed. And so, and I think that's where Achua's got a little bit better shot. He's a little bit more quick of foot, and that's why he went 20 and didn't go down where those guys did. And Azubuike's probably still 270. And they were talking tonight like Vernon Carey might be down to 240. But that is like, yes, can you handle the pick and pop? Can you handle, the rollout and get out there? And that's why Azubuike didn't go out last year, because he was horrible at it. He got a lot better this year. But I do think that there is still, if you can play offense on the other side, you can outscore your opponent. I hear what you're saying, but do you really think, what's his name, the Michigan kid playing for Miami, who just lets it fly all the time? White guy.
Duncan Robinson.
Yeah. Duncan Robinson is no glove.
No. He's a specialist too.
Right, but he's a specialist that's on the floor all the time. Like in the playoffs, he became an all-the-time guy. He was kind of like a featured piece. And I think there is a place to have a guy with a back-to-the-basket score, so that they say, okay, they're going to go with a super undersized 5. Okay, let's pound the paint. I still think there's a place. I think the offense just has to get more creative.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of some other observations. I see stupid stuff like RJ Hampton went 24th. I guess his experiment of not playing college basketball failed. He was a top 10 pick last year. And I really try not to get in fights, especially with people I don't know. But I saw someone say that on Twitter, and I'm like, he was a top 10 pick according to who?
Yeah.
Do you have fucking GMs on the record saying he was top 10 last year? Those are dorks who do mock drafts. He doesn't mean he was going top 10. The normal NBA process will discover everything you need to know about a guy. So whether RJ Hampton played, out of sight, out of mind in Australia, or if he had gone to Duke, Kentucky, North Carolina, or Kansas, he is what he is. So there's no guarantee he would have gone top 10, and he actually hurt his stock by leaving the country, because the flip side of it is LaMelo Ball probably improved his stock by going into Australia. People raved about the way he played there, and he wound up going number 3. And in both cases, they're both developmental players. So we don't know what's going to happen in the end with them. Yeah. But RJ Hampton didn't screw himself.
No, RJ Hampton is RJ Hampton. There are lots of 6'5" wings, right? Like, great. He was highly thought of, but, who is it? I'm trying to think of some of the guys. Kansas had a couple of different, wing guys that were supposed to be the all everything thing when they got there. Some of them spent 3 or 4 years and didn't end up getting drafted. Some of them ended up going after 1 year in mid round, didn't do anything in the league. So it's the basketball world is filled with wings. Wings are the toughest spot to crack.
Of course. Yeah.
I mean,
can you shoot? Can you defend? Do you have fire? You don't know. You have no idea. By the way, Rebel Hombre, and I like your tweets on the regular basis. He says, great center talk. The NBA might go back to that style of play. It's never going back. This is FIBA ball. Wow. It's never going back because there's competition now worldwide. All of their bigs, and it started, 15, 18 years ago. Dirk Nowitzki was a revelation, right? 7-foot guy who could shoot and also wanted to get aggressive and go get free throws. It's never going back. So unfortunately, while I hate watching, 16-year-old, 6'10", 250 kids drift to the perimeter and shoot threes, it has to be part of their skill set. And more importantly, they've got to be able to defend other bigs who can shoot a little bit and actually understand the pick and pop and the pick and roll. What do you think of LaMelo Ball? It was I made it into a good part of my last hour because we were watching the draft and my partner, Adam Candy, was tracking it on Twitter. And he's like, I have the pick. And I'm like, don't tell me. I want to open the present in natural form. And then I started yelling and screaming that the Warriors let LaMelo Ball pass. But I don't know if Charlotte can actually put things together. I think they have a guy to build around, and I thought they've had a couple of good drafts in a row. So not the worst landing spot.
So I will say about him, although I think he shoots better than his brother, but do you like the way that shot looks?
No, you still got to fix it. It's too low.
It's 6'7". He is 6'7", so he can get it off over 6'2", 6'3" guys, 6'1" guys. But he's going to get guarded by length, and it's too low. And there's a spin on it or something. Yeah. There's he's got a hand out. I don't know. It's not. And I'm no shot doctor, but I at least know the basics, right? And so I don't like it. And so I said about his brother when he comes out, I said, there's a lot of me that says this is Michael Carter Williams, who went 11 or 12 out of Syracuse, 6'5" point guard, could steal it, could assist it, and he won the Rookie of the Year. And 2 years later, he plays for 4 teams in 1 year because he can't throw it in the ocean. Right. The kid, everyone likes what he did in Australia. He shot 375 in Australia. All right, so which is a man's league, but he's going into the man's league now. And so I see him as a guy who is considered a building block and a young guy, and he puts up assists and he puts up stats and all that kind of thing. But in the end of the day, he ends up being traded multiple times because all of a sudden you look around, you're like, okay, we accumulated all these pieces and we're still winning 38 games. Why is it? We don't have enough shooters on the floor. Why are the Sixers redoing everything? Because their best shooters, they're 7'2" center. Okay, that's a problem, right? You can have one Ben Simmons, you can't have 3 guys that can't shoot. And same thing. I think the Pelicans are headed that way. Oh, look at the Pelicans. They got Lonzo Ball and what's his name? Zion Williams. Neither one of them can shoot. Yeah. Zion Williams can throw it in there if you leave him wide open. If he's hot, he'll make some, but usually not. And all of a sudden they're going to be 3 years from now when they win 45 games and they're out in the first round for the third year or 2 out of 3 because they missed it one time in the middle because Zion's too heavy and his knees acting up and he doesn't play in the playoffs. And they're going to look around. They're going to be like the Sixers and be like, okay, this isn't working.
I just did a fist pump because Dick Vitale lost it. Well, he'll still do it, but I think his number one candidate to go off tomorrow if they have him on, because you know what Dickie V does after the draft every year, right?
Oh, complains about why they're taking the young guys and the foreign guys and why all the seniors didn't get drafted.
Yep. So I did my whole, Cassius Winston, baby! I can't believe he didn't get picked! What is this? Great play, Michigan State! He's a 6-foot point guard who is probably a career backup. Relax. Nice guy, gritty kid, great story. I feel terrible about what happened with his brother, but there's just a reality that certain college stars who stay 4 years may develop into something we didn't expect, but the NBA is all based on potential and development. So he did get drafted. He went to, according to what the NBA has right now, 53rd to the Oklahoma City Thunder. So.
All right, so I was back to your point about the wings, and I was just drawing a blank on names, so I wanted to open the Kansas page and look at to Tell me about like what we're thinking of the decisions. Xavier Henry, Josh Selby.
Josh Selby, my God.
Josh Selby, second round pick, was the number 1 or 2 player in the country. Went to Kansas for a year. And what happened? He ended up going the second round. And
I mean, he went to Kansas. He would have been the number 1 pick a year ago. They said he was never number 1. Relax.
Josh Jackson, top 5. Xavier Henry went like in the 20s and has, kind of bounced around and never had a career. And there's one more. I'm forgetting the kid that came in with Andrew Wiggins in his recruiting class, a Boston kid, 6'5", played 3 years and went pro, was a second rounder. And he's kind of had some moments here and there. And I'm drawing a complete blank on what his name is. But anyway, it's just not – I mean, there's no guarantee. And R.J. Hampton, by the way, was supposed to go to Kansas. So, listen, Dickie V can bite it. There's lots of ways to get it. Wayne Selden, thank you. Wayne Selden. I mean, there's lots of ways to get to the to ultimately – and Selden may not have been drafted because he's not on this list. That's why I didn't see his name. He's not on Basketball Reference as being a Kansas draft pick.
And by the way – the NBA misses. The NBA blows it on older guys. A lot of the older guys, some of them turn into good players. I think I read the note tonight that I think there were 5 players in the NBA Finals who were actually undrafted. So it's not a guarantee.
No.
There are guys who – and again, they shortened the draft to freaking 60 picks. I mean, it used to be a draft that would go 500 rounds. So not everyone can be picked. So
yeah, no,
it's always a fascinating follow. So we had a great story here. What was it, like 4 years back now? A kid named Christian Wood. Right? 6'11", long, but skinny as hell. He left. He could have come back. He probably, one more year, and, maybe he gets drafted. And he had to bounce around for a while. A lot of G League, a lot of D League. He, finally got some cups of coffee. He gets with Detroit. Now, he's fortunate because Detroit stinks, and, the guys in front of him either got traded away or got hurt. And he goes out last year, at the end of the year, and he puts up numbers, and I think it's probably fool's gold, but he's going to go from an undrafted free agent to a guy who's probably going to sign like a 4-year deal in excess of $40 million. I mean, that's lifetime money.
Yeah.
So good for him. So it's not to be all cheesy, like it's not over, guys. You can still
right.
But there are lots of stories of guys who don't make it for 3 and 4 years. And the other thing to remember is because a lot of times you'll be watching basketball and you're like, God damn, that guy was drafted like 4 years ago. Oh, he's finally coming through. Yeah, because they're drafted when they're 18.
Yeah.
He's an old man, 23. Like, no, not really. Like, he's doing his developing on the pro level. He didn't play. Doesn't mean that he's not going to turn into a good player. So,
yeah. No, listen, and you can be lottery picks. I remember arguing with Kansas fans about Thomas Robinson, right? Who was the league player of the year, was tremendous, drove them all the way to the finals. And I'm like, and people are telling me he's the next Chris Webber. I'm like, he's 6'7" and has no perimeter game. Right? Like, no, he was the epitome of the game has changed. Because that wasn't even that long ago. That was the Kentucky National Championship team. He came in the same draft as Anthony Davis. And, back then he was still a top 5 pick. Portland, I think, took him like the 5th pick. It's like, no, pass. Great college player.
If you can, look at that draft, because I know I've referenced it many times because there was a pick or 2 right after him where it was a total disaster. It's just a complete disaster.
I can do that.
God dang, time flies. That was a 2012 draft. He was the 5th pick. And the next guy was Damian Lillard. Oh, shit. The Sacramento Kings. He was drafted by the Sacramento Kings. They have the worst touch when it comes to the draft. And the next one might be passing on Luka.
Oh, God. That unreal. The Suns.
Marvin Bagley, who I think has upside, but he cannot stay healthy.
No, there's no upside.
Luka is a top 5 player with health for at least the next 10 years.
Listen to that. But listen to that 12 draft. Anthony Davis. Okay. He's delivered the goods.
Oh, look at the 2 pick.
Michael Kidd Gilchrist.
The Knicks. I saw the Knicks are like, yeah, we might kick the tires on MKG to be a defensive specialist. He was the number 2 pick in the draft.
Bradley Beal, a guard, right, who can really play and is a perennial all-star.
Oh, boy.
Dion Waiters.
Mayheim's character teaching. Here we go, Dion Waiters.
Thomas Robinson.
Yep.
Then Damian Lillard.
Yep.
Right? And Damian Lillard's success, to his credit, was the guy who probably, paved the way the most of anybody to getting a paycheck for, let's see, I go one more draft. Where am I? Ja Morant. Ja Morant got a lot of Damian Lillard comparisons, and I don't think they're actually that great because I think Ja Morant's more athletic and doesn't shoot like Damian Lillard. But Damian Lillard's the closest thing to Steph Curry, and so they're getting a lot of guys paid. I will say this: there's going to be a number of wing busts in this because they're grabbing. There's a lot of Billy Bean in this. Guy shoots 41% from three.
Yeah,
all right, but he's shooting that, getting the shot off against PUD defenses.
There's actually they plays to the Mountain West, and I cover a lot of Mountain West. 51, 59, and 60 were all Mountain West Conference players who play the two. Or really the two. So a guy named Sam Merrill from Utah State, Jalen Harris, who went to Nevada, Reno, and then Justinian Jessup, who was at Boise State. So all kind of the same guy, all between 6'4" and 6'6". So we'll see how they do.
Yeah, that's why I will say there's, and maybe so taking those big guys is going to be a waste because there's 10 good ones you can sign right now that are just as good. I tend to think not. I actually think there is a place for a truck in the middle. Right, Rudy Gobert and the Jazz have done just fine, and he's not stepping out and shooting threes. Right, you don't have to have all five guys' toes on the line.
So one more thing before we get to all the football, and we'll look at the SuperContest numbers. I have a memory that can be spotty.
That's a fact
about today.
Truth.
Right. I'm now getting closer to you with the names, the wrong first names. Today I was talking about the Knicks power forward Julius Randle, but I called him Jerome Randall, but it's weird because then immediately I was like, oh, Jerome Randall, the 5'9" point guard who played for Cal. Why I remember that, right? So I'll give you a good example.
How about this? The guy from Michigan plays for the Heat, really came on playing all the minutes, bombs threes. He was on my freaking fantasy team and helped me win the championship because he's 5 threes a game. He was a pickup. I didn't even draft him. Nobody had him. I picked him up, and I had him on the bench at times. I'm like, Jesus, I got to get this guy in the lineup. Yeah. Right? And then so, he led me to a championship. You think I'd remember Duncan Robinson? No, I can't remember.
It happens. So I remember a conversation, I think it was 2004. We were talking about you and this is not on some show or anything. It was just us talking baseball, and it was probably at our fantasy baseball draft because Petro's friends all get together in Kansas City and we're talking baseball. Right, 2004. We mentioned a Yankee prospect, right? Because we have a friend John who's a big Yankee fan, and you tell us that one of the guys, one of the big wigs. I don't know if you want to name him now. It's 16 years later, but one of the big wigs with the
because he's still in the game.
Okay, so one of the big wigs. With, can I say the team? People will figure it out. It's actually complimentary. Ready? Okay. So you tell us one of the bigwigs with the Royals is like, this guy's just another guy, right? Robinson Cano. So today it comes out that he's tested positive again for PEDs, and I thought immediately, that guy was right because it's looking more and more like. How did Robbie Cano exceed so many people's expectations to turn into this stud top 5 second baseman for 14 years? How do you think it happened? How did he fool the best scouts? He was on the verge, and it was time to make a decision. Am I going to be great, or am I going to be a quadruple A guy?
Right.
And I believe that guy has been hopped up his entire career. I believe the Yankees knew about it. That's why the Yankees were like, oh, Seattle wants to give you, $180 million. You might want to try them. The Yankees knew what they had. They knew what they had, and scouts had it right. He excelled because he went the extra distance, did what you needed to do. And if people didn't see it again, he tested positive. And by the way, you notice the Mets bounced back last year in a shortened season because he hit 230 the year before. And last year, you're like, holy Christ, he's hitting 340.
Yeah, he's back. What the hell? What's going on?
Yeah, he's back. Yeah, I wonder how.
At age what, 36, 37?
Yep.
What's he at? Yeah, I know. Listen, and I remember talking with some GM types, and it was right before all the steroid thing blew up. Or no, it was maybe where were we? What year did that all blow up finally?
around that time. I mean, when did it start to blow up?
Yeah, when did that Game of Shadows come out?
Really 01, 06.
Okay, so this would have been the 99, 2000 ranges, right before that blew up. And I was going through players and just getting like a vibe of who it was. And the statement that was made to me, I was like, well, what about this guy? And he's like, yeah, not much pop, but, shit, everybody develops power now. And I go, yeah, it's a funny thing. He goes, no, everybody develops power right now. And at the time, I was too slow to realize what he was telling me. What he was telling me is they're all on the juice, right? I think the same guy we're talking about, frankly. And he's like, no, this is it. Like, they're all on the juice. And he's like, yeah, that guy, no power, but they all develop power. And, it's just, where the industry was,
Yeah. Robbie Cano went from a really light power guy to 2005. He comes up, he goes 14 homers, 15, 19, 14. Then all of a sudden 25, 29, 28, 33, 27. And, we've talked about this a lot too. Your hand-eye improves. When you start taking stuff, and as he came into the league, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, this guy's a 320 hitter in the majors.
There are muscles in your eye. It's been proven. Joe Posnanski wrote a great piece on it that your vision does improve with steroids.
Yeah, you're. This is a guy who, now he's suspended, but he's a 303 career hitter.
Let's see. Brady Anderson, Brett Boone, Jeff Bagwell, 7 career home runs in the minor leagues.
Oh, he's in the Hall of Fame.
400. And he's not. He's actually not yet. I don't think. Is he?
Yeah. I thought he made it a couple of years ago.
Did he? Maybe he did.
Because there's no suspicions at all.
451 major league homers.
Yep.
If Nicky Lopez for the Kansas City Royals hits 30 home runs, yeah. And I say it now. I'll call it out. I'm like, dude. And if any player doesn't like it, where to find me. And I'm sorry, guilt by association. Years and years and years. I've told the story in Kansas City. You remember the story? Jason Grimsley is the guy who rolled over on a lot of people. Jason Grimsley called me down to the clubhouse because I would do pregame, and I think I was doing my afternoon show, and it would be on. The station would be on in the stadium, and he heard me talking. And our topic, I wanted to talk to guys. Nobody wanted to talk about it. So our topic was, listen, they don't have testing. So we don't know, but who would you guess? Who would you have your suspicions about? So we're rolling through. Mike Sweeney, hey, he's big, maybe he's a guy, going through all these names. And I'm like, Jason Grimsley, he's kind of a psycho out there, right? I get the call, yeah, Grimsley would like to talk to you. And he reams me in the clubhouse, which happened 2 or 3 times. It happens when you cover baseball and you have opinions. And so I said to him, I'm like, Jason, listen, I asked who wants to come up and talk about it. Nobody wanted to come up and talk about it. I said, and so get tested. Like, you guys don't get tested. If you were tested, I wouldn't have this subject, right? We would know you're all clean. Like, if you don't like me speculating on it, I go, but it's running rampant in the game right now, and you still don't have testing. And so we had it out, and Grimsley's a good dude, right? I like Jason Grimsley a lot. But that day he was totally wrong. It comes out later. He's the guy rolling over in the Mitchell report.
Well, the feds caught him. He was getting shipments to his house in Arizona. I think it was Arizona.
Yeah. So listen, Clemens should have been in first ballot. Bond should have been in first ballot. All the guys taking it. I don't care. I don't care that you took it. I won't hold it against you for Hall of Fame stature, for any of that. Not for 1 second, because the owners didn't want them tested and the players didn't want to be tested. And everybody in the media looked the other way forever, laughed about it, joked about it, did nothing. They're hypocrites for taking out on these guys now. That's my opinion. But you don't get to come, MF me, right, because I'm calling it the way it is. Like, that's bullshit.
Yep. So sports talk, sports conversation memories from 2004 and Robbie Cano.
That's what we're about tonight. It's what we put out there that we're going to talk about, and damn it, we're making it happen.
All right. We're going to go. We'll deal with the Raiders and the Chiefs last. Let's go. Let's go through our super contest odds.
Wait a minute. Can I first say, no, I don't have a Hall of Fame vote? Somebody asked that. I should, I think, frankly, but the baseball vote is the worst. I do have an AP football vote and a Heisman vote. Those are all the votes that I have. I usually get a Big 12, all Big 12 football, basketball vote too.
You know what I found
my
over the
voting
years?
power.
Over the years, for the most part, sports radio guys really don't know what they're talking about, so they don't deserve the vote.
All of us?
Sorry, I was just acting like a writer right there. My bad. And then as soon as they get a call from the station, hey, would you like to be a co-host on the station? Oh yeah, love sports radio. Oh yeah, I'll take a job.
I will say this: all those votes that I were given, I were given by writers, so I do appreciate it. I feel like I've earned it. I think I've done. I think that you don't get those.
You study
the Heisman a couple of years ago. I don't think you get those if you're a jackass and don't prove that you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Feinbaum loves me.
The lead puss bag.
Yeah. I've not got a call from the Feinbaum show because amazingly I have Alabama at number 1 and he doesn't ever want to piss and moan.
Yep.
Yeah, apparently, it's nice and warm and cozy right there in Nick Saban's lap where he sits.
Well, he's got a safe place. He deals with callers, and then he's got his friends and
deals with callers.
And by the way, then he can be super outspoken. But if anyone was ever going to ever book anyone who would challenge Feinbaum, then he's forget it. His rear end is going to clench up.
I have not been called back since
because he's not prepared to fight. It's a safe space,
It's 1992 sports talk radio. Bring on the callers and have them bitch at each other. I mean, let's call it what it is. It's a Jim Rome knockoff, right? Credit Jim Rome, one of the icons of this industry, which, has been doing it for years. But, the concept of just have the callers call and talk shit on each other, spare me. Like if that's been done and it should be gone. And that's most of what happens on that show. I'm usually not critical of other media people, but
Yeah. I don't want to bury him because it works and it works for him. So, and he's making a lot more money than I am, but I find as.
But is he happy, Steve? That's what my mom always said. She always asked me, like, that guy makes a lot of money, Mom. But is he really happy? Do you think he's happy? I think he's happy when he's on his fucking boat, when he's cruising around by his lake house. Yeah, I think he's pretty happy, Mom.
Yeah. SuperContest time.
No, I pass. I'm going to pass.
Wait, what? Don't credit Jim Rome. Do you not want Rome connected to Feinbaum, or?
Yeah, I'm curious.
You don't like Rome. I'll never rip Jim Rome because the guy was a pioneer, and frankly, and I've almost never dealt with him, but I think people who have, he's actually a nice guy. So I don't know if Feinbaum is. I don't know if you've heard anything bad about Rome. He seems to me to be one of these guys who actually is above the fray, is not warring with people all the time, isn't stabbing other media people. Maybe he has, and I just don't know about it. I figured by now I would have heard about it.
No, I haven't heard that. And, listen, he made this sports radio business bigger, which made it easier for us. So in some ways, you always ski in the wake of those that came before you. So shitting on everyone who came before you had success is just ridiculous. I saw a couple of names up there. I'm like, that's what they do is shit on everybody. So I'm not like Feinbaum, tried to belittle me when he brought me on when I was the only one, whatever year it was, that Clemson kicked the shit out of Alabama in the national championship game. I was the last guy to have Clemson number 1 and not have Alabama. Everybody had Alabama number 1. I had Clemson number 1, and he brought me on and tried to, bomb me on it. And I said, he wanted to know, well, why do you hate Alabama? I'm like, I have him number 2 in the country. How is that hate? I'm like, well, I like Trevor Lawrence. I like the quarterback. He's like, well, I think 2 is pretty good. I do too. I have him number 2. Right. And then at the end of the year, ultimately somewhere in there, Clemson, I think it was the Syracuse or another game that they had a close call. And so I bumped Alabama in front. And then, of course, Clemson kicked the shit out of him in the championship game. And everybody was busting him and tweeting him and everything. Like, you can bring that guy back on to explain to you why Clemson's better. And, whatever. So that's why
I would love to give Feinbaum credit that he actually used you as part of a bit, but the problem was he came unraveled. Like, he lost his cool, so the bit went out the window.
Yeah, I stayed calm.
Right.
And he would keep coming around. He had nothing else. I'd be like, well, I like this. They have this many. When I'm doing that team, I like when I do the top 25. It's no fucking joke, man. I've put time into it. I rank 50 every week, and I've done my reading. I'm like, listen, Here's why, and I think you got to be, if you have them number one early. I said I love their defensive line. I said I think it's the best defensive line college football's ever said. They go too deep with draft picks, and most of them first-round picks, which was all validated as Cleveland Farrell and the whole first four got drafted. Two more from the second unit got drafted like the year after. The worst guy in their top 9 went like in the 4th round or something, and there was like 5 first-round picks and 2 second or thirds. I said I like that up front. The linebacking core is good. I think Isaiah Simmons was like a freshman. Dorian O'Daniels playing for the Chiefs was on that. They had corners. They had everything. I said their receiver core I think is better, and I think their quarterback is great, and they have all 5 offensive linemen back. And it was like, I still don't understand why you hate Alabama.
I just broke it down with 7 points.
Okay, man. Sorry.
Super Contest, Week 11.
Let's do it.
Here we go.
Let's look at some games.
Seahawks 3 against the Cardinals. It's a Thursday night tilt. Because of the Super Contest rules, it's kind of tough to put the Thursday games on, especially because you have to pick – once you pick a Thursday game, you got to pick the rest of the slate. Come on.
I will tell you, we've left money on the board, though, by not doing that. I mean, that's something we will reconsider moving forward because –
Well, in a non-COVID year, I'd feel safer about putting all 5 picks in.
But agreed. That's the problem. Yeah, if we put in – Chiefs Raiders and COVID knocks the game out, then we lose the game, and we need the wins.
Yes, we do. All right, so how bullish are you on the Cardinals, or do we kind of have to look at, hey, the game against the Bills was good, they got to win on a miracle play? It doesn't mean that the Cardinals are an 11-win team. They want a tight game on a coin flip ending of the game. Do we believe in the Seahawks' ability to actually get better on freaking defense?
I do, but I'm losing that faith.
Yeah.
Right? I think the Cardinals have playmakers, but I think it's now about time that everybody jumps on the Cardinals.
Really?
You don't think everybody's on the Cardinals now?
Oh, no, I thought you said everyone should be jumping on the Cardinals. You're saying
I think they are jumping on the Cardinals. And I think there's good reason to be on the Cardinals. I think the spread's probably right, but I think Russell Wilson, if Russell Wilson's hurt is why he's playing bad, then, the Cardinals are the call. But I'm of the opinion that Seattle's laying 3 for a reason. So my side is probably Seattle, but I'm not sure that I'm ready to commit to it.
All right. Good question here. My side is Seattle, too. Good one. How are you going to handle next week with Thanksgiving games?
I don't know. Wednesday night we'll be doing the show.
No, what I'm saying is, for the Super Contest, are you just going to punt 3 games?
I don't know. We might rock all 3 Thanksgiving games, and whoever doesn't have COVIDs on the Sundays, make those the last 2. I don't know. That's a good question, Cam.
You got to think about that.
We do.
We got to think about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Eagles plus 3.5 against the Browns. I like the Eagles.
When do you come off the Eagles?
When do I?
Yeah.
Well, I came off a while ago. I liked the Giants last week. I thought that was a good spot for the Giants.
Is that documented with a text to me?
No, it actually was not one of my selections.
For any newbies here, Steve and I are in the Super Contest, and so we're in it together.
So you got to pick 5 games every week. It's the Westgate. It's $1,500 to get in, and we'll see what the first prize is. The field is reduced.
We're not concerned with the first prize, but we are concerned with whatever the lowest payout is.
With top 100.
Yeah. Number 100. We're eyeing it like it's always. How many people are in total?
I think it was a little over 4. No, I don't know. I got to look it up.
For what? 100?
No, I think it got up to 1,000. No, I got up to 1,000 or close to 1,000 this year, and in the past, it's gone past like 3,500, 4,000. So in the past, the top prize was $1.2 million. Obviously, it'll be a fraction of that, but it'll still be north of probably $300,000, $400,000.
Okay. So, and at one point, we were at like right around 90 something, right?
In the standings?
Yeah.
Probably top 60. But yeah, we've hit the shitter.
Yeah, we have not been strong. We've been icy. We've been icy. We need winners. Browns, Eagles. Listen, Carson Wentz and the Eagles seem all jacked up. I'm finding a hard time to get there, but the Browns laying points is
not laying 3.5. Yep.
I won't lay points. I won't. No, not in this situation. So I think you play the Eagles, you stay away.
Yeah, we were on the Browns last week, and that's not the reason to get off them. But
we're on the right side. We had the right side. We got a push out of it, but that was absolutely right. It was 3, wasn't it?
Correct.
Yeah, and so when a guy is loose to cover, and they had multiple opportunities before that to get there, and he's walking in and he steps out at the 1, smart play. Like, I'm sorry, we're on the right side.
Just so you know, the leader in the main SuperContest field is 37-11-2, and then
35 and
what are we?
We're a ways back.
We are 25-23-2. We got to a point where we were like 9-10 games above 500, but the last 2 weeks have been a disaster. So
yeah.
But there's the field's actually been kind of shrinking back towards not 500, but back towards 60%, because a lot of the folks who were pitching at like 70% have fallen back a little bit. So
no, all of us have taken our medicine that we're way up there. Yeah,
there's hope. I believe.
Saints Falcons.
Jameis, you ready to do it?
I think I am.
I hang around with the biggest group of Jameis Winston fans. I'm not saying you're a fan, and I'm not gaga over him, but John Von Tobel and Adam Hill, and we actually were talking to one of the book directors down at the Westgate. They love Jameis Winston, but I think it's more just from the anarchy and chaos that exists around him and the unpredictability. But I've heard from plenty of people who are like, hey, if he's going okay, he can potentially be an upgrade from Breeze, which I'm not ready to say that. Is there a big drop off from Breeze?
It's different than Breeze. There'll be more big plays and there'll be more mistakes.
Yeah.
Right? Breeze is an absolute fantastic game manager, but Michael Thomas is there, right? I'm thinking he's not hurt, is he? He came back. He's not hurt again, is he? I'm not forgetting something. Okay. So the weapons are all around him. Sean Payton can coordinate a game, and the Falcons are a big tease. I like the Saints.
Yeah. And the Saints defense can make up for mistakes because it is awesome.
It's finally found its form, yes. So I like the Saints minus the point.
It just hit me. I put Todd Gurley back in the lineup as a flex player. Uh-oh. Because the Saints have a long run of not allowing a 100-yard rusher.
At least you remember to set your lineup.
I think I do most weeks. Yeah. Let's see. So we're both slightly. I don't think this is a like on the Saints, though, is it?
I think I'm a like. I think they're going to be one of my games. I think there's going to be Jameis Winston backlash. I think most people think he sucks. I don't think the guys that are actually moving the lines think he sucks. But I think this is an accurate line. But what would the line be if it was Breeze?
I got to look back at what the look ahead was. My guess is it was not.
My guess is it was 7.
Let's see. I'll try to find it here.
I think I've got one.
Start delving into Panthers with a very iffy Teddy Bridgewater against, I'll say, our Lions, although we've stayed away from them. The Lions are just
Saints 7.5, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 3-point difference.
Yeah. So I'm all about the Saints,
which is pretty amazing when you think about the fact that the drop from Breeze to Winston, who most people say sucks, is only 3, and somehow the guy they're paying $8 million to be Slash is not the starter. Taysom Hill's not the starter, which is what we said the entire time this thing was developing, that when they need a quarterback, Taysom Hill will not sniff the field. Jameis Winston is the 2 at $1 million.
He will not sniff the field as a real quarterback, but he'll be doing his little wildcat shit. I will say this: the one thing that I think is also interesting from an NFL standpoint, and I brought this up, is like Bill Belichick. Like here moving forward, if you don't have Tom Brady anymore, you have to get the Cam Newton, Jameis Winston decision correct. Both of them are like $1 million options, and the Saints went for Winston, and he went for Cam Newton, and he needed a starter. And so if Jameis Winston comes out and, spins 3 touchdowns and INT, Saints win by 10, and he plays good football. I mean, I'm not gonna peg him for, going 20-4 the rest of the way. But if he comes out there, I could see him in 7 games going 20-8, right? If he comes out there and does that and Cam Newton continues to look like he can't find a guy 10 yards in front of him, then where is the Bill Belichick genius now? And it's not to say he wasn't a genius earlier, but at 69 years old, it might be over. And handling his own personnel decisions, like you can't screw that up if you're going to try to win. Patriots' smartest move would have been to tank this year of all the people they lost. But if you're going to try to win and you get it wrong on those 2 quarterbacks, not only can you not draft wideouts, you can't pick quarterbacks.
Right. Did you see Belichick get all pissy last week?
Oh, it was great.
Someone dared ask him, like, hey, your recent draft success hasn't been great. I'll put my success over 20 years, up against anyone. Not 20 years. Recent. Yeah. We're not talking about that. Like, that's your whole point. We're talking about from 65 years old to 69, Bill.
I think it was
hasn't been good lately. Don't get all pissy. You're right. You're the best coach ever.
Don't you think that's the worst thing? If you're a Patriots fan and you hear him having to quote his record for the last 20 years, when pressed a legitimate question about the last 3 years, that scares the shit out of you that he doesn't have the answer?
Well, it also scares you because he doesn't get what you just said, which is, and I know he just got to win against the Ravens. It's fine. They're going to win 7, 8, or 9 games. What good does that do them in the future? He needed to swallow his pride, but he's too goddamn competitive, and they're just competitive enough to be a middle of the road team. Like, you might have 3 quarterbacks go in the top 10. You need to be in the mix for that.
If this is what he did was get caught up in the vanity of trying to have a better record than Tom Brady this year because it's a pissing match with Tom Brady. You're an idiot. Like, this was the time to cut it all, blow it all out. You had cap problems. You had every reason to suck, and embrace the tank, man. Embrace the tank.
Now, you make a lot of stupid comments, Rock and Roll Cabbie, but this is one of the dumber ones. Is the first round pick the only pick that matters? Is it?
No.
He's not on the stream, so he can't answer. No, it's how you pick in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
His last 3 drafts suck, and he's never gotten a wide receiver right. Go look at N'Keal Harry. Didn't we do this last week? Was it on here or was it on my radio show? 4 out of the next 6 wide receivers are all really, really good. And he had his choice, and he took the wrong one.
Listen, if we're going to, drop to our freaking knees with the knee pads on and, have you blow loads over our heads because we're congratulating you for 16 years, guess what? You got to take a little criticism when it's not working out.
Yeah. You come on when it's good. You come on when it's bad. I mean, you got to answer the questions going up and going down. That's the bottom line. And Bill Belichick is one of the greatest coaches of all time, and that's not changing right now. But I had a topic this week that I said 5 years from now, is Bill Belichick considered hands down definitively the number 1 coach of all time as he was entering this season, or is he closer to Chuck Noll, a guy who won 4 Super Bowls as the head coach of the Steelers? Closer, right? He's out here at best of all time. Chuck Noll's here, which is still a very good coach, right? But it was like an incredible group of talent. And when that talent was gone, he couldn't replicate it, right? How far back did he go?
I actually, even though I'm ripping him for showing pride in winning games this year, it actually is impressive. I mean, some of it's his doing. Some of it's his doing because he has messed up the personnel, but some of the wins they've gotten have been impressive. I think the interesting argument could be, what if Andy? How old is Reid? 64? What is he?
62 or 61.
Okay. What if Reid wins?
He's actually, I think, 8 years younger than Belichick.
What if Reid wins 3 of the next 8?
Which is what you're painting my scenario. He's 62, right. 62 in March, so he'll turn 63 in March.
What if he wins 3 of the next 8? I mean, are Patriot fans going to come back and be like, it's all Mahomes? Fuck you. It was all Brady.
Exactly. That's my point. And so I said this. I said, how about this scenario? Right? We were doing our bold and daring predictions, right? I said, how about this? Andy Reid wins this year, which he's a heavy favorite to do, which still means he's 20, 30% to do it. But he wins this year. And then he grabs 2 more in the next 4. Right? So over the next 5 years, he wins 3 more Super Bowls. He has 4 championships, went to another Super Bowl with Donovan McNabb. I'm a Syracuse guy, so don't take this the wrong way, but good but not great quarterback. Right? Went to numerous playoffs with Alex Smith, with Mike Vick, with Jeff Garcia, won games with A.J. Feely and Kevin Cobb and all these guys, right? And his coaching tree is significantly better, right? So we go 5 years forward, and if Bill Belichick goes this year 7-9, then he goes 10-6, then he goes 6-10, then he goes 9-7, and he goes 8-8, and there's only one playoff over 5 years. What do you look at and say? And if Reid's non-winning years are AFC Championship, or is a Super Bowl loss and an AFC Championship game loss, like it's going to look real different. So, I mean, that's the thing. Everybody's empowered by what has happened. Nobody has the balls to talk about what will happen.
Right.
Right. So I always try to be proactive and say, hey, let's take a look. What are we going to do, and how are we going to view things differently? And he's got to figure out the quarterback spot, and he didn't do it this year. He's never figured out the wideout spot, and that's become like, why are the Steelers undefeated? Like Roethlisberger is falling apart.
My God!
But they can find some wideouts
every year. Every year they find someone valuable.
Yeah,
just about every year. It's crazy. Panthers Lions.
Explain this one to me.
Well, I don't love this number because I have a feeling it's going to go down. What do you think? It's too low right now?
No, I don't. I think the Panthers are riding this wave of playing close to the Chiefs and hanging around with the Bucks for a while, but they're on a massive losing streak. And now about all you got to do is pick the winner. I don't like the Lions. Don't get me wrong. Right. The Lions are a complete tease.
I'm not betting the Lions. So
I'm done with the Lions. But
if this is coach v. coach, and then you're like, oh, it's P.J. Walker against Matt Stafford, my response is like, I don't care.
I agree.
I don't trust Stafford in a spot where you're like, wow, this looks juicy, plus 2.5.
I don't like the Lions. The Lions are a tease. I won't play the Lions, but I don't think I can play the game.
Interesting comment from Rock and Roll Cabbie. I was actually listening to SiriusXM, their football channel today, their NFL channel, and Pat Kerwin and Jim Miller were getting into this about Matt Stafford and who's going to be the next coach of the Lions. I won't get into it, but they both were of the belief that Matt Stafford is never being moved by the Lions. They love him in the Lions organization, and they're going to ride it out.
And that's why they will lose.
Exactly. That's why they are in the hell of 9-7 to 6-10.
They have to find a coach that will challenge Matt Stafford.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't meet the challenge, get rid of him. And if he does, he'll play his best football at the end of his career, Jim Plunkett style. There's ability, but I'm going to tell you from people I've talked to in the league that have been around him, he is weak of mind.
Okay. Their premise was if Patricia's gone and they're making a run at coaches, the next prospective coach, when they're doing interviews is like, listen, we got to do what I want to do here. We got to move on from Stafford. We got to trade him. And both Jim Miller and Pat Kerwin were like, they're not doing it. That coach will not get the job.
And I think they're probably right. And I think that's why their Lions haven't been in a championship game in 70 years. I mean, it's as simple as that. Like, it can be done, but you have to back your head coach and you have to be willing to look for another quarterback. And Matt Stafford is the biggest example of how teams they'll hang on to let's call them, right? If you put immaculate talent around anybody, not anybody, but if you put immaculate talent around a good to very good quarterback, you can win a championship. See Joe Flacco, okay? See Trent Dilfer. But he's not going to carry anybody. And so the biggest mistake that people make is being truthful about their quarterback. Matt Stafford has the golden arm, has the 1-1 pedigree, and has some big statistical seasons. He's not a winner, right? Like this is going to come to Justin Herbert's doorstep at some point. Win a fucking game. Okay? At some point, like this first year, the media won't give a shit. And
Right.
frankly, the scouts and everybody else should like, hey, he's young. There's a lot of upside. There's a lot of potential. You know, who was the media darling? Baker Mayfield was the media darling a couple of years ago. He's not doing it all. 27 touchdowns in 13 games. This guy's a star. I'm going to tell you, in Kansas City, people are talking about it's going to be Baker Mayfield against Patrick Mahomes. Then the next thing is it's going to be Deshaun Watson against Patrick Mahomes, right? Win a game. Win games, right, when it matters. It's what I talk about all the time. Patrick Mahomes comes off the field in tight games. His team's leading. Now, maybe the defense shits it away, but he's leading when he's done effectively having a chance to win the game. And Matt Stafford never does that. He's weak of mind. And so if you could get the Patriots to give you big picks for Stafford, you should take it. Now, I do think there's the opportunity for someone to challenge him, knock him down, take a step back to take 2 steps forward. But I'm going to tell you, people tell me he's very weak of mind. He's been coddled his entire career with the Lions. And if that's what they continue to do, then they won't ever be anything more than they've ever been with Stafford.
I like this one. Hamilton. Texans are my lock of the century this week. I mean, it's the Texans. I like that you feel strongly about a win.
No, but that's I forget the guy's name that's on the photo there. It's we use it.
So is that what it is?
That's his line. So we use it.
Side.
Yeah,
Okay.
we use it. Yeah, we use it for our guy. The lock of the century or the week, right? Like that's like the what the hell is the guy's name? And it's from Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Someone's got it.
Someone will have it. Jerry, what the hell is it? Anyway, and he does the whole thing, and he's the typical New York, New Jersey, the John Carl. Thank you, Carl.
Carl.
Lock of the century or the week. So I got much love for that because I love Carl.
Why is this line what it is?
Because the Pats are 4-5 and the Texans are what, 3-6? Like there's not that much difference between these two teams. Who has the better quarterback? The Texans do, and they're at home. Like the Pats win a game and everybody wants to think that they're like, oh yeah, Belichick's back. Like, no.
By the way, Texans 2-7.
2-7, okay.
And also 2-7 ATS. I mean, this number is.
What are the Pats ATS?
Let me look at it here. Sorry. Click.
I will say this. Listen, I don't like betting the Texans because, one, I've always talked about, we've talked about on this, that the Chiefs and Texans met in the divisional round, and I watched the network TV say this was going to be the game that decides which quarterback is better. And I wanted to shove a hot poker up everybody's ass. I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And I was like, I guarantee the Chiefs are going to win. And by the way, at 24-0, yes, I was throwing things around my house, and I wanted vengeance, revenge on the Chiefs for being down in that game because they were making me look like a moron. Ultimately, winning 51-31, I was proven right? Once they got done shooting themselves in the foot, they were better. The Deshaun Watson's good, not great. Romeo Crennel plays checkers, right? And Bill Belichick plays chess. So I get the Patriots. If the Patriots win this by 20, I won't be shocked. But if the Texans win it, I think there's better personnel on the Texans.
So we're liking what? What just happened?
I don't like the game. I think there is definitely a winner. I'm not sure I can figure out what it is. I think it might be calculus, and I'm doing algebra. Who do you like?
Patriots.
Okay, I could be talked into it.
I mean, I'm willing to fire against the Texans, but the problem is this will be a very public play. So if you're anti-public plays, right now, you know what?
Is it? Let me see. I bet it already is.
Actually, right now, Patriots are only getting 67% of the cash and 66% of the tickets. So
only that's still quite a bit.
Well, I mean, we had a game last week. I'm blanking on what game, but we had a game last week that was like 93 and 94%.
Let's see. What am I seeing? Well, the fact that I'm on November 29th is a problem. It's not a lot of action. I'm like, what the hell is this? Yeah, it's November 29th. Dumbass. Yeah, I'm seeing about the same thing. Money, tickets, the same. I can be talked to the Pats. No problem.
All right. Steelers, Jags. Laying the 10?
You can't play the Jags. I mean, you either lay the 10 or get out.
All right.
Right, Kerry? Are you going to take the 10?
No.
Curtis, who works with me, says 10 points. Anytime you get a 10-point dog in the NFL, it's a good spot.
Not so much anymore.
No, and I agree because offenses will kill a team. So I'm of the belief it's Steelers who don't play. I'm not jerking around. You know me. No quarterback, no play.
Right.
Tell me about this game, though.
Colts are the easy play against the Packers, right? Packers start to come back to earth.
What are the Packers? The Packers get no national media respect at all. And the Colts have Phillip Rivers, who everybody hates. And the Colts lay the points. Interconference should be balls to the wall. Like if it's a shootout, you like the Packers. If they're going to have to play defense, you like the Colts. Are you on the Colts?
Yep. I think the Colts have figured it out. If they can run the ball and then make sure that Rivers isn't throwing himself into too much peril. I'm not saying Rivers is Kirk Cousins, but Colts want to run the ball, make sure that Rivers isn't throwing 35 times, and use their defense. Their defense is really good.
Yeah. I agree. We made some money moving opposite the Colts when they were getting all that love. I think there's firepower, though. I think the Packers are better than advertised. So, what's the money on that one is?
Look at these numbers. Who do you think?
Who do I think? I think the money is going to be on the I think the public will be on the Packers.
Packers cash, 79% tickets, 85%. And yes, the Colts are an extremely sharp team. Sharps love the Colts.
I'm on the Colts. I'm on the Colts there. That'll be a play.
This is so easy. It's winners everywhere.
Yeah, great, right? Yeah, good. Thank you.
Look at football team with Alex.
It's better than your drunken Saturday picks.
Well, I will admit that my energy was sapped because for some reason I get worked up about Rutgers games, and boy, I was fucking annoyed. No one else in the country watched Rutgers in Illinois, and it took me like 2 hours to get over that. I was pissed.
They didn't win?
They didn't win, no. They were laying 6-6, 6.5. They got out to a good start, but not on the scoreboard. And then the inevitable.
You don't want to hear anymore.
No, the inevitable problem with a lot of these teams is if you get something different, if you get a running quarterback, Illinois has got their fourth stringer out there. He's like 5'9", 130, but he was a really highly touted guy who everyone recruited as an athlete. And Illinois is like, we'll let you be a quarterback. He cannot throw at all, but as a freaking edge rusher, he was awesome. So anyway, I got sad. Football team and the Bengals. I think you're a bit of a Burrow whore. Burrow stan.
Have we lost with the Bengals yet? I mean,
we've had him a couple times as big dogs. Yeah.
What do you think of Alex Smith?
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
That he's playing this well. I mean, I think you also have to consider the competition. Last week was a mess with the Lions, and he's going to be playing here against the NFC East. I'd lean Bengals.
I'm on the Bengals. I am a bit of a Bengals whore. I do like where they're going. I'd like to see Burrow start throwing some touchdowns and win some games late. Like I said, same thing with Justin Herbert. Like win something late. You get him. First year, I'm not going to grade it. I'm not going to throw anybody out the window and say they can't play. But I think they've got competent quarterbacking. I think they've got some play calling. I think they've got some weapons, but they need to turn it into wins. This is a game. If the Bengals are going in the right direction, they got to win this game.
A big problem for the Bengals in this one. Their O-line is terrible, and football team, if they have anything, they got
a front seven.
Good front seven, and they can put pressure on the quarterback. Truth from Duluth actually mentions a really important point. keep an eye on Devontae Adams' status because he's jacked up again, and they may rest him, and that obviously changes Rodgers and.
I will say this though, and I know it's going to sound stupid, but Allen Lazard is back, and I know everybody worries about all the weapons for the fact that they've invested high picks, but Lazard is good, and Valdez-Scantling has talents, right? So they're not devoid, and Aaron Jones ought to be fairly healthy. So,
okay,
what you disagree? Because they won. Didn't they win both games that Devontae Adams didn't play in? And this is a 1.5 point line, not a 7, point line.
I believe in the team. I think it's a good team. But you're right. Rivers it's dangerous. I like the Viking story. I think it's it's great. Zimmer's a good coach. Zimmer figured out Kirk Cousins needs to throw the ball like 7 times a game. I'm not laying 7 though. I know the Cowboys are bad. I know the Cowboys
are bad, and I'm not taking the Cowboys. Well. Where are we at on quarterbacks for the Cowboys? Which
Dalton's off the COVID list, but I don't know that he would be back in the mix. I didn't check an update today, so
if Dalton
maybe they'll play games and surprise us. They're going to keep it a secret for strategy.
Yeah, because you know what, the entire monetary structure of the NFL is not based on betting and fantasy football. Smart move, assholes. Pull your head out of your ass and make your medical stuff. Negotiated in the CBA. I don't want to hear about, you got the HIPAA laws. Up HIPAA's ass, okay? You can collectively bargain anything, and injuries need to be made available for fantasy players and bettors because it is at least half the league's value, right, on TV. So stop jerking around, you dumbasses. This is an example of what I'm talking about when I say, they make so much money. They don't care that they're shitting 40% more away. They don't care. If
Hamilton's onto something here. Other reports also saying that Dalton is on track,
right,
to play. Does that move the needle for you?
It does. It does because Dalton's a real quarterback. He's not a great quarterback. He's not probably maybe even a very good quarterback, but there are weapons. The offensive line is terrible there. He's not a good quarterback with a bad O-line because he's not going to make things happen with his feet. But I do think that Zimmer's a good coach, and the Vikings have found themselves. And I've talked to people in Minnesota, and they're already quoting the 2015 Chiefs that started 1-5 and finished 11-5 and then won a playoff game. So they won 11 games in a row. And I think there's something to like. The Viking secondary sucks. There is a bit of a matchup. If you could protect Dalton, it's a very young Viking secondary. So, this one could kind of get up there point-wise. 7 is a lot for a Vikings team. I know they're running the ball, but that's a lot of points for losing teams. Like losing teams to be laying 7 is a tough thing.
You said he's a quarterback. Were you showering praise on Cousins or Dalton?
No, I know you like the quote. My point is I won't bet an NFL team that doesn't have a quarterback, right? So when you start Kyle Allen, you don't have a quarterback. Andy Dalton is a quarterback. Kyle Allen is not. What's the Ohio State kid's name? Bronson Pinchot or whatever. What the fuck is
Dwayne Haskins?
Dwayne Haskins is not a quarterback.
Bronson
Pinchot. Alex Smith is a quarterback, right? He's kind of Andy Dalton right now. Maybe he's more. Maybe he's reverting back to what he was with the Chiefs, which was a great game manager, right? But there are teams that don't have a quarterback. And if you don't have it, Sam Darnold is not a quarterback. I will not bet Sam Darnold, right? I won't bet who else. Give me somebody else who's actually out there playing games. I'm not so sure that
Nick Mullins.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not playing that. Like he'll cover a game. It's not that he can't cover the bet, but you cannot go into a game in the NFL where 1 or 2 plays turns it, and so many times you got to score at the end of the game to get it done. If you don't have a quarterback, you can't win that game. Like you know how many times I collected bets when I was taking bets, as booking the games, and guys would call me or hand me the money as they paying off the weekend's losses, and they're telling me like, oh shit, man, if they just made that play, they got down to the 30. Even Dak Prescott's good. Right, but how many times Dak Prescott had a chance to win a game at the end and he doesn't do it? Right. Well, the bad quarterbacks have a chance to keep you in the game, and then they don't do it. And you go, well, they had that pick or this, that. Yeah, because the guy sucks. Because you bet on a team with no quarterback. You're not going to fucking win.
We skipped over the Ravens and the Titans. You got to read on this one? What is going on with Baltimore?
Well, so Baltimore's a hard one for me because, as you know, when we did our totals, I was adamant Chiefs over 11.5, Niners and Ravens under because they don't have quarterbacks that can really spin it. Right? You can't get up there into the 11.5 and go over. You may have gone over. You may get there sometime. Right? If you get there on over 11.5 with the Ravens, no, you got over 9.5 because people didn't see him coming. Once they see him coming and you go 11.5, they're not going to get there. Right? Tom Brady can go over 11.5. Patrick Mahomes can go over 11.5. Aaron Rodgers can go over 11.5. Drew Brees can go over 11.5. You can't get there. So the Ravens I thought were a 10-6 team with a chance to fall down to 9-7, 8-8. They're better than 8-8, clearly. I think they find themselves. They're at home. I'll take the Ravens. 6.5 is towards the tease down line, but I kind of like the Ravens.
Titans are the public side. Titans getting 70% of the tickets so far. I will mention that the Ravens aren't running the ball well, and what was it, like 2 weeks ago they gave their left tackle $98 million, and then a day and a half later
they lost Yonda.
They lost Ronnie Stanley, and Yonda.
They lost Stanley last week or two ago, whatever it was. Yonda left after they don't have Yonda, who's a tremendous lineman. So yeah, I do think. And
now you got DJ Fluker, who's 6'5" and 800 pounds with the biggest noggin I've ever seen. He's playing right tackle. So
who does have a pedigree of being a high pick and an Alabama guy, but
he's bounced around.
Listen, Lamar Jackson is great at running that system. He's got to run to be effective, and they don't have the offensive line that they had last year. And that is the most underrated part of the Ravens' success last year was the O-line. That's being dinged. I'll credit my buddies Eric Eager and George Charuri at Pro Football Focus for talking a lot about that. And so that does give me cause for concern. But I also don't think that and some shines come off both coordinators for the Ravens during this little stretch. But I got to think that they can figure out what's going on. I mean, are you sold on the Titans as any more than a 10-6 team? Like, to me, these 10-6 catching 6.5 is not a bad spot.
That's the thing, is 6.5, yeah. If it were,
And where's the money?
It's on the Titans. 66% of the cash, 70% of the tickets. It's going to be a public play because people are looking at it and they're like, hey, the Titans are good.
And it's got a chance to be the Sunday night game, frankly, if they have to move the Chiefs Raiders.
I thought what was the game someone mentioned today? Because obviously we're concerned about Sunday Night Football here in town.
I don't think there's any game that's not
Packers Colts could be the Sunday night game.
It's a 325 though, isn't it?
It already is. Is that what you're saying?
I think it's a 325, which generally the 325s are a protected game. Maybe, but if people are talking about that, they've probably done more research than me, so it probably can be.
All right. Last couple of games, go ahead. You can finish it up.
What do you think? Titans, Ravens.
Titans. I'd lean Titans.
Okay. I had to think about it.
Which is clearly a public opinion and maybe knee-jerk because the Ravens just didn't look good against the Patriots. We'll get to Chiefs Raiders in a second. We've been on the Dolphins a lot as a plus, and the Broncos quarterback situation blows. Now Locke is hurt.
Dolphins or walk. I got. Listen, we've been on the Dolphins, and when we haven't been on the Dolphins, we wish we were on the Dolphins. What are they against the number?
I'll look it up, my friend.
It's got to be really good. I'll be honest with you. I think
7-2 ATS.
I believe in the quarterback. I believe in the coach. Yeah. I mean, and I think the Broncos they got problems. It's the Dolphins or don't.
Lock limited at best is the status. By the way, side note, we were talking about coaching trees.
Mhm.
Is there a chance? Who am I missing? Right, we always criticize the Belichick tree. Right, who's come off the tree and been good? Is Bill O'Brien the best guy? Or is it going to turn out that Brian Flores could be the best guy from the tree?
I like Flores. You know,
it ain't Matt Patricia. Just to go back to the Lions for a second, and I thought Patricia would be good, but Belichick covers so much of his team in terms of the coordinator duties. Patricia, he's a defensive guy, and the Lions' defense sucks. Yeah. Like, your team's not even good at your specialty. Was he calling any of the plays with the goddamn pencil and the sheet? Was he doing anything?
No. And here's what an NFL guy said to me about Flores. They said, listen, I know the stigma of the Belichick tree, but I'm always going to lean anybody showing promise that's an African-American coach. I'm going to lean more towards them being a success because they've already had to overcome so many hurdles to get to where they are. And I tend to agree. Flores they wouldn't even give him the frickin' defensive coordinator label. Remember? He was like linebacker coach, but like everyone knew what he was. I'm with you. I like him.
And Q Levy's right. For the most part, Vrabel's he's a good coach.
Vrabel is good, yeah.
He's the best guy from the tree.
Listen, I do no, Bill O'Brien's the best guy from the tree. He's won 4 division titles. When Vrabel wins his first, then we'll talk about Vrabel. It's Bill O'Brien, who still got fired.
Would you hire Bill O'Brien to be your college coach, Syracuse?
Of course I would.
You would?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Listen, Vrabel, like, how can you say Vrabel's better than Bill O'Brien? Like, we're going to say body of work?
You're right. The body of work's not there yet. I just think he's a guy who embraces it. I think, first of all, he's a much better players guy. O'Brien's a prick, and he's got to change. He's got to get better with people. And O'Brien's also, I like the fact that Vrabel has already shown like he's evolving with the game. He can be an analytics guy. I don't know if this is a wake up call for O'Brien. I wouldn't hire him again as an NFL coach. I guess he's got more of a college mentality, and I suppose he can recruit. We were talking about the South Carolina job, and I'm like, I don't know if Bill O'Brien goes there. I think he's basically Will Muschamp, but with NFL coaching experience. It's the same guy.
Well, first of all, I'd never take the South Carolina job unless I wanted it to be my last head coaching job, my last Power 5 head coaching job.
That was the other point. Down the board, Petro, like 13th choice. He was like 12-1. Joe Brady was on the list. I'm like, Joe Brady's not taking the South Carolina.
If they wanted to give me 5 years, $20 million, like, yeah, I'll take the South Carolina job, but you're not winning at South Carolina.
And my buyout is 19, 18, 17, 16 along the way.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm getting all of my money.
I'm getting all my money. Otherwise, like, just be an offensive coordinator, buy your time. Listen, first of all, full disclosure, Bill O'Brien's special needs son, and so I have a soft spot in my heart for Bill O'Brien from that standpoint. The story of he and his wife is great. If you don't care about that, that's fine. Move on. If you do, Google that, see some of the stories that have been done. But Bill O'Brien won a lot of games with Dick at quarterback, right? And that counts in the NFL. And I'm not saying he's got it all figured out, and I don't think he should be a personnel guy. But I love Mike Vrabel. I sat at the American Century Championship, interviewed after I was done with the show, waiting on Vrabel to get done hitting balls on the driving range. And he came over and sat down with us, and I did like 20 minutes with him. Great stuff. And then he sat there. We grabbed him a beer because we get special access to the tent because we're the KC guys. We grabbed him a beer, had some Coronas, and I love talking to him. What a great guy. So I am rooting. I hope one day we will say Vrabel is by far the best Belichick offshoot. But right now it's Bill O'Brien.
All right.
And I do like what's going on in Miami.
Gil the Thrill says, if you're that dude who can take South Carolina job, turn it into something, look at what Dabo did to Clemson.
No, Clemson was always the better job.
No, it's always the better job. I mean, I don't know how committed South Carolina is, but yeah, they're going to have to get out of this hole and really compete to be in the top 6 in the SEC. They're going to have to start playing things the right way. So
yeah, they can.
Which means lots of money behind the program, and
listen,
lots of payoffs.
South Carolina's peak is Iowa with Kirk Ferentz, Missouri with Gary Pinkel. It's those second tier programs in power leagues that consistently win, and when the big boys stumble, they can grab the division title and fight for the conference championship. Gary Pinkel played in 4 conference championship games, 2 in the Big 12 and 2 in the SEC. That's what South Carolina is, man. They're not going in there and winning a championship, right? Like Michigan State, right? When it's there, they can get there. Like who else? I'm trying to think. Who's the Pac-12 equivalent? Arizona, right? That's an Arizona job. But they all think that they can win the league. It's not happening.
Chargers, Jets. I'll be very intense about this one. Very intense. I love this Herbert kid. I'm rooting for him to start getting a little bit confident and get this win, baby. Go get the win, Justin.
Well, you can't play the Jets. They're unplayable. But 8.5 with a 2-win team? Are you shitting me? Are you shitting me?
I do think the Jets are playable.
They're not playable. You cannot.
I'll give you the
Jets. The Jets will be down 6 in this game with a minute to go and somehow fuck it up, and the Chargers will cover 13. If you put money on the Jets,
the fuck it up is the Jets being competitive. Just play young guys. Darnold is done for the year. Joe Flacco gets released this week. Get James Morgan out on the goddamn field, or whoever this Mike White guy is. No one with any semblance of talent plays. And now, you know what? I do like their receiving core. And, one excuse the Jets can lean to is that their receiving core has never been healthy all in one game. Right? Crowder and Perriman are pretty good. Mims has upside. I'm not betting the game. It's a stay away completely. I might bet in game, but I'm not betting the game, and I'm not putting it in the freaking super contest.
So I will tell you that if the Jets had any balls, they would kneel on every offensive possession.
I would punt on second down.
Touche.
Yeah. You saw what they did against the Patriots. It was brilliant. Come on. We hit this last week. It was brilliant. They ran 4 plays in the fourth quarter. It was awesome.
Like holy shit, we might win this thing. We got to fix this.
Joe, take a couple of sacks, brother. Let's go. Do it right.
All right.
And before we get to Raiders Chiefs.
Bucks Rams, man. Where you at? 2 teams I don't like to bet on.
Yeah.
I think Arians and Brady are pulling. Yeah, I mean, listen, the Bucks are a good team. McVay has Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, and then he dials some shit up on offense. But I'm not enamored with anything going on with the Rams other than Donald and Ramsey.
How about that defense against Jared Goff?
McVay will, find some tendencies and, to use a basketball term, he'll counter the sets that he's shown before. And so knowing that they'll overplay and he'll get some things done. But 4 usually means we feel pretty confident. So I tend to like the Bucks. I think the Rams are in the wash, and which I consider 6-10 to 10-6. So I think they're like a 10-6 team. McVay may push them out to 11-5, but I think the Bucks have a lot of pieces, so I like the Bucks.
Chiefs and Raiders. Chiefs.
Bake is a dog whore, right? He just loves them dogs. He's
good.
always
I like that. I like that.
I do like, yes.
Chiefs and Raiders. We got a little screwed today on the number. Was 7, 6.5, but the reason we got screwed on the number, if you want to play the Chiefs, is that the Raiders are in COVID hell again. So I know you hate this every week, but I'm on the Chiefs. And I think I do believe that Reid is going to use Busgate as a little bit of motivation. And if the Chiefs get a chance late be doing some trickeration and pile on the Raiders, I think he's going to do it.
So my description of how this game is going to go was that Andy Reid would empty the clip in the Raiders, right? So, like, you can figure out what that means.
It's a good one.
When they're down, he's going to keep firing. So I agree wholeheartedly, but everybody and their brother is thinking that.
Of course, yep.
This is a 6-3 Raiders team that everybody's expecting to get their ass kicked. Now the COVID thing does screw things up.
94% of the cash, 90% of the tickets on the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean the world is going to be on the Chiefs, which
means that if there's that much, especially the ticket volume, if there's that much ticket volume on the Chiefs, and this thing hasn't exploded to like 9.5.
Vegas is on the Raiders.
I mean, that means the Sharps they might not be loading up yet. Like they're doing it, but they're trying to do it being careful because they're hoping it gets to 8.5, 9, and then they will freaking start bombing it.
Yes, I agree, and that scares me. But I will say this: if you bet the Chiefs, we've talked about my theory about playing them what are they against the spread right now?
Now they 7-3. Let's see. They are 6-3 ATS. They're not 7-3 because they played 9 games.
Yeah. Which I said if we'd played the Chiefs every single week, we'd go 10-6. And if we could put, 20% at 10-6 right now, lock it up, we should take it. But you didn't want to do it.
I fought it the entire way. I've completely fucked us.
Well, you fought it early, and we jumped on it like 3-0, and we're like 3-3.
Yeah, we've gotten a couple of quality wins out of it, out of the 6-3.
Right? So, like, if you play it that way and you go, okay, this team I'm going to take every time because they're going to be undervalued, or this situation I'm going to take, and you make money, right? It's not about everyone's quest for 5-0s is bullshit. Like that's not how it works. You need to make money. I still have to take the Chiefs. I mean,
Well, the problem is the COVID thing really does complicate the situation. So if folks out there don't know, especially in Kansas City, Cleve Ferrell,
I've made him aware.
He tested positive. Then LaMarcus Joyner joined on the COVID list with him. And then today they just started putting guys left and right for the tracing. Now, if I were John Gruden, and this is what I said before the Buccaneers game, I would put the entire defense on the COVID list and go, your move, NFL. I'd push to have the game. I'd do everything I could to have the game move back a day or two. But John Gruden is simply too honest.
I think there is motivation. I think the Busgate thing is just like, I think it's an Andy Reid tool.
Yeah.
But they do want to avenge the defeat. And so, which is where I know we're going next. And I also somewhat wonder, is this just Gruden and Reid saying, let's cook this rivalry up? And so let's take some shots and let's make it happen because they're buddies. And I can see him doing it. It's like, hey, it's good for both fan bases. It's good for both ticket sales moving forward. But I think, when Travis Kelce's talking about it on national radio and, Andy Reid, was asked about it and said, it's not what we would do. And then 2 times brought it up without it being brought up. I mean, he's serious about it.
Yeah. We played a clip today from Max Crosby, and he's the Raiders defensive end. He's kind of like, I don't know what's going on, but I do know we were circling the stadium, and I was like, okay, what's happening here? And then he's on with Cowherd, and Cowherd's like, the media. And I played it on my show. I'm like, not the media, Andy Reid. He brought it up. Like, yeah, are we running with it? You bet your ass. Yes, it's awesome. Yes. And I'll tell you, here in Vegas, like, we just got the Raiders, but I'm getting sick and fucking tired of you Chiefs guys and your fans getting a little too goddamn arrogant. All right. And I don't want to hear anymore. I don't want to hear anymore. This isn't a rivalry. Because we're hearing that like all over the AFC West. And the rivalries are dead. The Chiefs-Raiders rivalry for Raiders fans, even though the Raiders haven't won most of them, what are they, 3-12 in the last 15? the Raiders fans care. They've got an enemy. They've never liked the Chiefs. I think they hate the Broncos fans more, but
they'll hate the Chiefs more. They hate the Broncos more because they've won more recently. Listen,
right.
The point is valid, but
right.
the entire AFC West has presented no challenge to the Chiefs for like 4 years.
Right.
Since Peyton Manning left, there hasn't been any team to challenge them. Andy Reid is shit in the ear of every AFC West team out there. And so for the Kansas City fans to be like, it's not a rivalry, it's because it's not a goddamn rivalry here. Okay? And when the Chiefs sucked and the Broncos were stepping on their throats, and we were like, the Broncos are a bigger rivalry than the Raiders, they're like, yeah, we don't care because, like, you guys suck. Like, that's how it works. And we talked about this last time. Derek Carr said, hey, it's not a big deal till we win some games.
Right.
They won a game. Now it's of note. Now, if the Chiefs win this and then win another one, then it'll go back to being nothing. Right. But I think the Chiefs have been awakened, and they know the Raiders give a shit, and they know it was their Super Bowl. That was one of the references Travis Kelce made was, hey, one team acted like it was a Super Bowl. Right. So I think the Chiefs are awake, and I do think Andy Reid's going to, like I said, empty the clip.
Can I tell you my favorite thing to do? Because we often have former Chiefs on, and a lot of them are from the era of our buddy, and just before that, Mark McMillan. I love having Chiefs on who played like 95 to 2000. Every goddamn guy I bring on, I'm like, boy, 97, huh? Gerbach, Rich Gannon.
Oh.
I don't know how you guys didn't make the Super Bowl. And like, inevitably, every one of them is like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. 100%.
I love rehashing it. We had Anthony Davis, who played linebacker for the Chiefs, whatever, like 95 to 2001. But Mark actually did most of the talking. Like, Anthony didn't want to talk about it, and Mark was saying, and
Mark
McMillan. But he was saying that, and maybe you've told me this one. So someone told me that. Well, we actually on the conversation the other day, apparently Marcus Allen in the locker room, like, fucking flipped out when Marty told him that Gerbach was the guy against the Broncos in the first playoff game. That Allen, who's like, he was professional, composed, he went fucking ballistic. And then the other story was at the end of the game, and I could probably look it up and it'll jog the memory, but there was an offensive lineman who, after they lose the game, 10 points, 14-10 loss to the Broncos, there was an offensive lineman in his uniform who got in his car and just fucking left. He was so pissed off after the game.
Yeah, 95 and 97 were incredibly bitter pills to swallow.
13-3. And if you look at the era of the AFC, like, there were not other great teams. And that was also part of that run where, like, the AFC just couldn't put good teams up against the NFC. The NFC just won the Super Bowl every freaking year. The Chiefs had to make a Super Bowl in that era. Had to.
And the problem was the quarterback spot.
Yep.
And clearly the offensive coordinator, right? Because Rich Gannon didn't play for the Chiefs like he did for the Raiders. So,
by the way, last year, I'm like, you know who we need to get on? Steve Bono. He came on. We talked to him about it.
What did he say?
He said the same thing. Well, we brought him on mostly to talk about the Niners, but I was like, hey, the Chiefs. How was that for you? And it was the same thing. He's like, I can't believe we didn't get the job done.
Yeah. Well, by the way, Steve Bono, a guy who said, well, there are no good restaurants in Kansas City, as the starting quarterback of the Chiefs.
He's I believe it, because even now at whatever he is, like 55, he's kind of a space cadet.
Yeah.
He's an interesting guy to talk to, but he can be out there.
No, he's problem. And Rich Gannon, by the way, was backing him up too.
Yeah. Guys, don't get worked up, all right? We just like to reminisce. Don't get worked up. Please. I just bring this up. I'm objective. Just calm down, Chiefs fans. Calm down.
Yeah. No, trust me. It'll be a rival. It's back to being, a big game at least this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna blurt out something, and then I'm like, I don't believe that. So
listen, if the Raiders win this game,
the Raiders are building something special. I don't know if they are. I still don't know about their defense.
If the Raiders, I think they're building into being at least a good team. If the Raiders win this game, it's back, right? It's a big deal again because they will sweep the Chiefs.
Yeah.
If they get their ass kicked, the last time was the Chiefs didn't care, right? You can write the story right there. No, I was there. Sleeping bag inside a trash bag with cardboard wrapped up underneath my feet to keep your feet off the, off the concrete. I know all the deals. Trust me. I was there.
Sean, did that hurt as much as 1,440 yards is right now with Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
Is 1440 what he's on pace for?
That's what he's on pace for, which, by the way, is still really good. It's still really good. He's having a really good rookie season, so he's been great. That's our bet. For people who don't know, we bet
for a lower number.
Yeah, Sean blurted out 1,700 total yards.
Casey Flatlander is Sean, by the way.
Yeah, Sean's Casey Flatlander. And I was like, no, I'll take the under. So, and I would have lowered it to 1,600, but you didn't jump on it. So, also, by the way, update last week. Was it the day that you and I were on where we had a guy named CJ Cards fan he's a Grubhub driver, and he blurted out that Goff would throw for 400 yards, and I was like, I'll take the under. And if I lost, he had to offer nothing in the bet. If I lost, I was going to order from him. I don't even know how you would do that to a specific driver, but I was going to order Grubhub like once a week, for the next month. So gets a little tippage, but no dice. You got to be smart. When you throw out outlandish numbers at me, I'm immediately going to put you on the spot.
I'm going to jump on the math too. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what else is going on? What else is going on, Petro? Oh, who do I like in this game? I said the Chiefs.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Make sure we got you on the record.
I got to close out with a wild card or two here.
Let's have it. What's going on with me? I don't know. I'm trying to find inbounds plays for fifth graders, which I'm not 100% sure I should actually be teaching.
Yeah, for safety reasons.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though, be careful when you talk about shutting things down.
Not gonna.
What's that?
I'm not gonna.
Well, I mentioned it at home, and I wasn't processing correctly, and I got my head ripped off by the SO, by the girlfriend.
Service industry, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Plus, she's making an investment in the business, and like go time is right now. She's like, no, there's no shutdown. Like I got to lay out all this money. She doesn't curse at me, but basically, I think she was like, "You shut up, you clunt." I would have taken it too. I would have taken it if she just dropped a C-bomb on me. I'd be like, you know what? I deserve that. I forgot.
Before we started this, I'm looking through, box plays against the 2-3 zone, inbounds, man plays, diamond and one presses. I've lost all these practices. We had shutdown. How am I gonna make this happen?
Yeah, how shut down are you guys right now?
So they just went to mandatory masks in the state of Kansas. 2 days ago, the mayor of KC Mo said no gatherings over 15, bars to close at 10. All the counties, the main county on the Kansas side of Kansas City is Johnson, and they're the most lax. So, I've always talked about, I can see across to Missouri. I live in Kansas, but I can see Missouri. And the laws aren't the same, yet I can walk over there in, 70 seconds, 2 minutes, a minute and a half.
Right.
You know how my house is. I mean, so, Johnson's the last one. This county's the last one to say to come down harder. But the state of Kansas did say, everyone's got to wear a mask out, when you're out and about. But schools are, I don't know where the schools are. My kids go to a Catholic school, and it's still open, but there's a lot of cases, and it's like all of us, we're all troubled. What do we do? What's the right move? And I don't know what it is. And I listen, my heart goes out to everybody trying to figure out what to do.
You're saying regular people or officials, governors?
Administrators, officials. I mean, I think there's some dumbasses that are just there's some other edict from other people, and they're just following along lockstep. Right. But kids need activities, right? So when do we shut that down? Kids need to be around friends. That's a difficult call when to shut that down. Businesses need money coming in. That's a difficult call. The federal government at the national levels is shit show. Bipartisan bullshit. I mean, it's hard, man. It's hard.
I don't think we're shutting down in Nevada. Part of me thinks that it's actually a safety issue for the governor. People fucking hate our governor. Hate him.
Really?
Yes. And
I don't even know which party is he.
he's Democrat.
Right.
He's Democrat. But it's kind of consistent with the way the state is. He's taking because people will joke like, whatever California does, shut up. All right. The casinos are the government here. All right. So they shut down the casinos for a while, and that was it. Right. And then they opened them, but they were still super restrictive on restaurants and bars because that's the way it's always been. I don't know if people remember. It's probably 15 years ago now. We actually put in a smoking ban at our local bars, like where people game and smoke. They actually, and like all these places had to build out like a whole like seating area and partitions. And, you had like, you had the 36-year-old women with 4 kids who are like, I don't like to smoke. When I bring my kids in, like, don't bring your fucking kids to a bar, right? That's the first issue. But it was hypocrisy because the casinos, like, they didn't have to build out special areas. You could still smoke in the casinos because they're the bosses of the state. What they say goes. But we have this notion.
Which by the way is dumb for the casinos because every bar. I know you roll your eyes right there, but like one of my buddies owned a bar back in the day, and when the smoking ban came to KC, you've been in his bar, right?
Yeah.
And the smoking ban came, and he was on the front page of the Star, protesting it, and it went through. And I said, "How long did it hurt your business?" He said, "About 2 weeks. Dumbest thing I ever did. They go outside and smoke. They come back in and keep drinking." And I said, "Oh, really?" He goes, "Actually, I'm up a little." I go, "Oh yeah, because like I'm back because like my clothes don't smell like an ashtray, like right, like when I come to Vegas, I'm not hanging out in the smokiest places,
right?
And so you lose business." And I'm not saying I'm a big gambler, but I'm not playing the $2 table either.
Right, but local bars going with a smoking ban. It's against their whole model. Their model is not to make money off of drinks. They're not a club. It's the machines, and
they're wrong.
And the people who play the machines are, they're testy.
They
obviously,
can't play the machines without smoking outside. They'll still play the machines. Addiction's addiction.
No, there was a drop off, and a lot of people moved, and then the casinos gained a lot of the business. So you'd have. That's
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I agree with that. But I'm saying if the casinos did it, everything would be everything.
Yeah. All right, I got one more story.
All right.
Let's see some comments here. All right, Black Mountain Grill, no smoking. Well, that makes sense. They have good food, so
that helps.
Yeah, Jay Miller Vegas. It was one of the dumbest things ever, and they lifted it because they realized it was killing the local bars. So,
well, it wouldn't kill the local bars if there was no place else to go. If everybody had to adhere to it,
there are other places to go, and then the other one. Now you could never do something like that now because now there's these slot halls that basically have no overhead. There's about 5 different places. It's basically like 2 ownership groups. Dottie's has 3 different names, and you can smoke whenever you want, but there's no food, or it's like microwave snacks or candy bars and shit. So, I mean, it would kill the bars that actually cater to people who want to eat and game. I know your answer is going to be no here. I know, but I am fascinated. I'm fascinated by this one.
I don't know what it is.
Well, we like big cans. What if they're old big cans, but they're legendary big cans?
Oh, God. I know. Cover girl. Who is it? Oh, Dolly Parton.
Dolly Parton. Yep. Dolly Parton. Playboy wants her to pose again. 75-year-old cover girl. Now, I had forgotten that she actually posed for Playboy. It was, I think, 1978, but she actually never got nude. She was just in one of those bunny outfits. If they gave her, God, she's rich, and she's by the way, she's very benevolent. She gave a shit ton of money to a COVID vaccine research. What if she worked out a deal with Playboy? It's $20 million and 19, all of it goes to charity or it goes to more COVID research. Does Playboy do it? And does Playboy throw in? But does Playboy throw in? You got to whip him out this time. At least a couple of pictures. We got to see those. They're 75, but she's probably had them lifted a bunch of times.
I'm based on she has been in interviews and said, yeah, why wouldn't you get plastic surgery if it can make you look better? So I'm sure, she's 75, they're 4.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead, let's go. Goes to charity? Why not?
Yeah, she still looks good. She's still skinny. 75 though.
Tiny. You got a current pick? Looking over, she's like, "Where's Waldo?" On what you've got up on the screen. By the way, kids, ask your dad. Oh, there. Okay. Yeah, God bless her. I don't know. She's great human being. Seems like by everything I know. So, sure. Let's see.
There's the old picture from '78.
When you didn't have to be like anorexic to be considered in shape.
Oh yeah,
pretty gal.
Yeah, I went right to the research machine. I'm like, I don't remember her being actually naked in Playboy, and it turned out she never showed it all.
No, not good. Too much class, Steve. Too much class. She's running a theme park.
And Truth from Duluth is right. She's potentially saving all of us by putting a bunch of money in a COVID vaccine. So,
what's not to like about Dolly Parton?
Nothing. I got no complaints. You know that.
I'm a fan.
Yep.
On a lot of levels.
All right. I thought you'd push back and say, because generally I bring up something like this at the end of the podcast, and you're like, all right, that's it. Stop it. It's enough. I'm a family man. Don't objectify women. I have daughters. You don't do that, but I think that's part of the rationale. There's
an element of that. There's an element of that, but when you've made your career, listen. Dolly Parton's great. That's what I'm gonna say. Dolly Parton's great. I'm a fan at every level. How's that? Does that work?
I like it. I'm good with it.
What? The charity or the?
I'm good with all of it. Anything she wants to do, I'm good with.
Me too.
Yep. But we do know in the end.
One day you're going to be 75 and you'll be like, yeah, of course I will take that side. 100%. Yes. I got to stop. Yes, 100%. I'm on that side.
I got to stop. And D Walker is right. This has been a Petro staple for at least the 20 plus years I've known him.
Yes. I'm not going to deny.
Yep. There you go. He's a new man. All right, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow as we have Justin Watkins on.